What happens if they won't?
Well, of course, EU legislation, all member states have to implement it, and we have a strong support from the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, Filippo Grandi, and he was also out yesterday. But it's also important to remember all member states have to implement it and to apply, and if not, the Commission will of course act and use, if necessary, infringement. But I must say that I'm pretty convinced that member states will implement the pact now quite quickly. They seem to be quite eager to do the implementation, and I'm convinced that they will also apply it.
But are you disappointed?
This is very, very clear in the legislation that we're actually strengthening the protection of the fundamental rights of the asylum seekers, the right to apply for asylum, and specific safeguards for the vulnerable ones. So this is a very strong legislation. And I think it's also important to remember that we have a strong support from the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, Filippo Grandi, and he was also out yesterday strongly welcoming the pact.
Carried by Libyan coast guards.
Well, yes, they are also the ones who have to do the search and rescue. But then we are criticizing what happened with people afterwards, because in these centers that are usually being brought to, we know that the conditions are very dire, I should say unacceptable. And that's why we are calling on the Libyans to change this and to close these centers and to stop these arbitrary detention of migrants in these centers.
OJ, how do you think the visit's gone?
But you say you're broke. What are you going to do about this?
I don't know. You know, I don't think who I am is inside and what I'm about has anything to do with money. I think who I was before I ever attained wealth. I thought I was a good person, a God-fearing person. I was that with wealth, and if I'm not going to have wealth in the future, that doesn't, you know, that doesn't say who I am and what I'm about. So I'm comfortable either way. You know, I'm happy within myself. I have a certain peace, and things will work out. They always do. Thank you.
That if you were walking down the street and you saw your laptop with your name on it in a car, you can use the force to break the window of the car to get the laptop. You told me on not only then, but even the night before, that I couldn't go in a person's dwelling because that would be trespassing.
I've been following OJ since his football days, you know. I figure he was a good guy based on before, you know, the murder stuff happened, you know, but there was a lot of fishy stuff that went on with the case and all that stuff that I wasn't happy about. But at the same time, he was a good person, you know. I believe he was a good person. He definitely was a good football player.
I mean, I was surprised. He was fairly young, but, you know, I remember very well, even in Venezuela, my home country, I remember when it all happened, and we were like everybody in the world tuning in and having, you know, tuning into this saga, to the whole saga. And I believe he was guilty, and so, I don't know, I cannot care very much.
He got away with murder, so although I don't like to see the death of another human being, I'm not shedding any tears, and I feel for the Goldman family, for all those who got were impacted by his crime. He was found guilty later, but initially he was not found guilty, and that shows the perversion of justice and what could happen when one has the kind of money to spend on the lawyer team that he had.
Where are you from? Mexico. Been here before?
No. I remember him as a great person to begin with. He had a lot of drama in his life, and it was unfortunately very, very publicized and not much of it to his favor. It's just sad that he ended the way he did. Just really, really sad. I watched the whole trial and all that. It was horrendous, a horrendous story.
Merci Madame la Présidente, Monsieur le Secrétaire d'État. Since October, there have been several developments in Slovakia which raise serious concerns and on which we have been in close contact with the Slovak authorities. We have noted the amendments to the Criminal Code and other related acts. During our last plenary debate, I already expressed the Commission's views on these amendments, notably from the perspective of EU law requirements related to the protection of the financial interests of the Union by means of criminal law. The amendments risk undermining the fight against corruption and the protection of the Europeans' financial interests, in particular as regards the lowering of penalties, amongst others. The Commission notes that the reform as adopted did address some of the issues that the Commission had identified regarding an earlier draft as being not in compliance with EU law.
Ak vám nevadilo, že predsedom vlády bol človek, ktorý ukradol vysokoškolský. Ministri sa rozhodli navrhnúť ľudí, s ktorými chcú spolupracovať. Okrem toho je tu koaličná zmena.
We hope to be able to find solutions that will ensure compliance with EU law and the commitments taken by Slovakia under the Recovery and Resilience Plan. However, we will not hesitate to take action to ensure respect of EU law and the protection of the EU financial interest as necessary, and if all the conditions of the relevant instruments are fulfilled.
Ale nesledujeme agresívne hrubosti. Nebudeme ako
Ďakujem, pán predseda, nejaké prvé slova k voličom. Ďakujem.
Samozrejme, ďakujem ľuďom na Slovensku, že
nesmiete ich pustiť, to je náš prístup. Ak bude smer vo vláde, okamžite obnovíme napríklad Slovenské národné povstanie. Všimnite si, ako oslávila prezidentka predseda vlády.
We need good policies more than ever. Making the right policy choices will define the future of the world economy. It will define how this decade is remembered. Will it go down in history as the turbulent 20s, a time of disruptions and divergence in economic fortunes, or the tepid 20s, a time of slow growth and popular discontent, or the transformational 20s, a time of rapid technological advancements for the good of humanity? On this final stretch, it is doubly important that central banks uphold their independence. As we know, policy credibility is vital in the fight to restore price stability. Where necessary, policymakers must resist calls for premature interest rate cuts, because premature easing can see new inflation surprises that may even necessitate a further bout of monetary tightening. And we have to recognize, on the other side, delaying too long could pour cold water on economic activity.
On the risk of geopolitical trade blocs, actually here at the Atlantic Council.
We are looking at the Chinese economy in great detail and hopefully providing some good advice. Look, I mean, if China does the reforms that we recommend, they can get massive benefits. They can lift almost 20% their output over the next years. On the question of overcapacity, as we recognize, there have been sectors in the Chinese economy over the years where overcapacity has existed. It is critical to develop domestic demand and then shift more of the economy towards services, so this doesn't persist as a problem for China.
That can guide us away from protectionism?
So before we get to questions, I have just a couple of opening comments about the situation in the Middle East. We continue to be concerned about the risk of escalation in the Middle East, something we have been working to mitigate and contain since the attacks of October 7th, and specifically about the threats made in recent days by Iran against the state of Israel and the Israeli people. You saw the president make clear yesterday that we stand in strong support of Israel's security against these threats. Secretary Blinken has been engaged in diplomacy over the past 24 hours through a series of calls to foreign counterparts, including Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan, to make clear that escalation is not in anyone's interest and that countries should urge Iran not to escalate. We have also engaged with European allies and partners over the past few days and urged them as well to send a clear message to Iran that escalation is not in Iran's interest, it's not in the region's interest, and it's not in the world's interest. Separately, the Secretary spoke yesterday to Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant to reiterate our strong support for Israel against these threats. On that call, the Secretary also emphasized the importance of Israel meeting the commitments that Prime Minister Netanyahu made to President Biden last week to improve the delivery of humanitarian assistance into Gaza and to put in place enhanced deconfliction and coordination measures. Our teams, including our Special Envoy for Middle East Humanitarian Issues, David Satterfield, have been meeting with Israeli, UN, and private relief organizations this week to push forward on all of those fronts. And while we have seen progress, it is critical that that initial progress continue and that it be sustained. And that is the message we have been delivering consistently to the government of Israel. And with that, Matt.
Right. Thanks.